What's up, gamers? Today we're going to be talking about a game that you've probably seen before on my channel, and know I've been following it because I've played the alpha, the beta, and pretty much the Xbox version of the game and the PC version of the game. The game is from the creators of Left 4 Dead, Evolve. The core concept of the game is quite simple to understand. There's two teams in the game. One team is one player, where one player takes on the role of a monster. The monster's goal is to run around the map and devour the indigenous species and evolve so that they can take on the hunters. Currently, there are 3 monsters in the game right now. The Goliath, which is the Hulkster of the monster group, is able to charge through the enemies, breathe fire, and stomp on them. The Kraken, which is the flying monster, able to shoot projectiles at enemies, AoE, and also lay down mines and disrupt the enemies through various means. And finally, the last monster available right now is the Wraith, which is kind of similar to a rogue in many other games. It's got low HP and armor, but has the ability to pull enemies from far distance, pounce at enemies, throw out a decoy, and go into a blinding rage that can rake people's faces in when it feels like it. All these monsters have a variety of skills that are unique to them. However, they share the same trait of skills that you'll notice, such as being able to traverse the terrain, sneak, pounce on the enemies, and also eat the indigenous life form to evolve. Once the monster hits level 3, he can either go after the hunter, go after the power relay, or complete the objective of the map before time runs out and loses. Now, at any given time, if the monster is competent during the evolutions, he can pretty much go after the hunters anytime, but it's going to be a challenge for him before stage 3, and if he's set up correctly to face the team sometimes. Now, on the other team are the hunter or the hunted, which is made up of 4 different roles of classes, each of them having 3 different characters, and each of them playing a very unique role in supporting each other to defeat the monsters. The 4 unique classes are the Assault class, which is like its name, is the heaviest DPS of the group and the main DPS of the group, also able to distract the monsters and shield itself. Next, we have the Trapper, whose main responsibility is to track the monster and trap it in a confined space known as the mobile arena. The Medic, which is the backbone of the group, is responsible for keeping the group up, debuffing the monster, or buffing the group. And finally, the role to help have that tactical advantage over the monsters is the support role, who is able to shield the group, turn the group invisible for those ambush attacks, or even detect the monsters at time. There's a lot of cool varieties of classes for this one, so it's a very unique role to play in the game. And the hunter's goals are quite simple. Their goal is to hunt the monsters or complete the objective to win the game. Now, right now in the game, there are 2 game modes, which falls into the core mechanic of the game. The game modes are 4 versus 1, where the monster has to reach level 3 and destroy the power relay before time runs out or the hunter hunts them. And the last mode is the Evacuation mode, which is pretty neat. Evacuation mode is basically a game mode where it spans over 5 days, and depending on who wins a certain match, carries over to the next match in terms of advantages, and it changes throughout the varieties of the map. For example, there's different objectives on each one. One might be to rescue the colonists, and if the hunters win this, they pretty much get turrets. If the monster wins this, they get an advantage with poisonous all over the place, or a teleportation portal where they can go around. So it adds a nice flair to the game. And on the 5th day, it's a type of defend game for the hunters, while the monsters are charging in with spawns to attack the hunters' relay stations to stop the transport ship and kill off all the colonists. Now, the game really has no story, but the story is told in a variety of ways through the game's banter system, where you hear the conversations between the characters, which is great. The voice acting done in this game is absolutely phenomenal. I love the voice acting, and the banters are quite amusing.
How's our Trapper?
Ready, and Daisy's hungry.
Medic, how about you?
Ready for the drop.
Well, good as we're gonna get. Ain't nobody else around, so let's go with that.
The other thing that's really gorgeous about this game is that the fact that the game takes place on planet Shear. It's a different planet, there's different life forms here, there's destructible all over the environments, there's a weather system in place, and the phenomenal backdrops and background to this game, the plant life, the floras, everything looks absolutely gorgeous on the highest settings and runs really well depending on your card. The other thing that's really cool about the environment in the game is that the fact that there are hostile lives all over the planet. There's plants that will attack the hunter and dangerous beasts at every corner that will either attack the player monster or the hunters. And also these monsters will drop specific buffs for tactical advantages if you decide to kill them or not. The maps in this game are also very well done. There's a lot of tactical advantages for either the hunter or the monster, and depending on how it's played, there's certain height advantages and advantages with line of sight all over the place. So there's a lot of great places to do battle, and it's a decently sized map for the players to play on, while not feeling too open and too restricted at the same time. As far as balance goes for the game, during the beginning of the game, for certain roles, there are certain perks that you can pick throughout the game, and those percentage also goes up as you level. So until that is maximum level, it's hard to say what happens, but during the beginning of the game, the monsters are a bit more powerful than the hunters, I feel, and also as time progresses, the hunters get a little bit stronger as you level up. So in the high-end game, the hunter starts getting better and the teamwork starts getting way more solid. So it gets more and more balanced in a certain way. Now, I love to sugarcoat this game and tell you to go buy it right away because I'm a huge fan of this gameplay. I liked it a lot. I'm a huge fan of Left 4 Dead and I support the developers, but there are some things that made this game a huge con for me, and I'll talk about it right now. And you know, I gotta be honest with you, one of the biggest con is the fact that this is a $60 AAA title with one core mechanic, and no matter what game mode you play right now, there's one core mechanic. There isn't much more. So a lot of people question the replay value of it. Is there enough for it to have a lot of replay values? And you know, it's really subjective in this case. It depends on you. If you enjoy competitive multiplayer with a leaderboard and to compete against other players or work together and have some little bit of fun, then yeah, you'll enjoy this game. But if you're looking for much more of varieties in terms of game modes, you're not going to find a lot of that yet, unless they come up with a monster where it can spawn some type of weird creatures to take over the civilians and turn them into monsters, and it'll have like, yeah, I don't know, 8 versus 8, capture the flag or something. See, that's food for thought right there. Now, my final con for this game is probably the most controversial topic of all. Everyone's talking about it, and I'm thinking about it too, is that the business model for this game is completely ass. What disturbed me the most about this game on the final version is the fact that I went to the store page and I saw all these awesome skins and stuff, and of course I had no problem with spending money in this game for the season pass or the monster edition, which is what I bought for the game, $100. And I looked at the store page and I saw all these skins and cool flares and gun packs and all this cool stuff for looks of weapons. I mean, they're optional, but I feel like they should have been given to players, especially if you spent $100 for the game. The thing is, they're $5 each, man. They're microtransactions, and microtransactions are reasonable when they're reasonable and not reasonable when they're milking the shit out of players. Now, as much as I like to defend this and say, oh, it's for the upkeep of the servers, for the banning of cheaters, for the great pings, and also the great maintenance of the game, the thing about this is that it's microtransaction. It's reasonable when it's reasonable, but it's not reasonable when you have to spend like another 60 to 90 bucks for fucking skins, excuse my language, for a $100 version of the game you already bought. Of course I'm gonna buy some of these skins, but it sets a bad behavior for game companies to milk the shit out of players. So you might want to look at this and think about it for a second. That's my biggest con about this game, is seeing the store page and see how it's milking the shit out of players. But to be honest with you guys, it's your money. You made the money. You spend it the way you want. I'm not here to tell you how to spend it. Think about what you're doing though, and enjoy the game. The game is fun. It's phenomenal. It's won many awards. It's a very highly competitive game, and I know many people play it, but at the same time, it discourages many other players and will create a balance of love or hate for this game. And I can see a lot of people being on two sides for this game. So remember, guys, check out the game. look more into it and research about it before you make your purchase, or wait for the Game of the Year award where the game drops down to 25 bucks. Anyways guys, I can see myself spending hours and hours playing this game for casual fun or even competitive purposes, but like I said before, these are my pros and cons about the game. I'm not a psychic from the future. I can't tell you how the game's going to be. It can either be a Titan fail, or it's going to build up slowly and become something that's going to be massively really popular, which it is showing on the Steam store right now that it's pretty popular, but some people disagree with some of the systems that are in place for the game. Other than that guys, remember to have fun in your game, and game on.